Well, next week marks the release of the highly anticipated EA Sports College Football 25. It's the first college football game in 11 years following a hiatus after NCAA Football 14 in 2013. And in honor of the release, EA Sports revealed the 100 highest-rated players in the game on Wednesday, with plenty of notable names appearing on the list, including Oklahoma State's running back Ollie Gordon, Tennessee defensive end James Pierce Jr., and Colorado's two-way star Travis Hunter. So we now bring in CBS Sports college football writers Chip Patterson and Tom Fornelli as we dive into these ratings release. And we might as well begin at the top, shall we? Michigan cornerback Will Johnson is the game's highest-ranked player and one of three players with an overall rating of 96. This comes on the heels of that breakout 2023 campaign. But, Tom, I want to come to you first. Do we agree that Johnson should be pegged as the #1 player in college football?
You know, I do. I think if you look at these ratings overall, it is notable that there is not a single player ranked 99 in the game, which is, you know, the ultimate rating that you can have in the video game. And I think it's something of a statement of, as we head into next season, there really isn't a defined #1 player in the country. There's nobody we're looking at right now as the clear-cut #1 pick in the draft next year. There's nobody we're looking at as the clear-cut #1 quarterback. But if you look at Will Johnson, there's a very solid argument that there is nobody in the country better at playing their position than the Michigan quarterback Will Johnson, who was phenomenal last season on a phenomenal defense, and he's coming back this year. And I'm guessing once again he will be one of the best corners in the country. As you can see here with the pick 6, he makes plays, he's very smart, he's instinctive, and he's a tremendous athlete. And I think he's pretty much the total package. So while there might not be a 99 in the game, Will Johnson should probably be closer to 99 than 96.
Yeah, I take a lot of my notes from what the coaches say with their decision making, and Will Johnson stepped onto the field in Ann Arbor as one of the best defensive players from the beginning of his career. And you just think about how awesome that Michigan defense has been during this recent run of Big Ten championships, college football playoff appearances, and now a national championship. The more than dozen NFL draft picks that we just saw, and still, you know, ever since he was a freshman, Will Johnson was looked at as that dude. So of course I'm okay with this because, you know, he's in that rarefied air. I think about Minka Fitzpatrick when he arrived at Alabama, loaded up with NFL talent, but Nick Saban still said, we got to find a way to get that guy on the field. He's too special of a talent. That's the way Michigan has treated Will Johnson. So all the other players from Michigan are off to the NFL draft. Everybody else that was good at defense is off to the NFL draft. Will Johnson still in college, absolutely fine in my book as #1.
Rarefied air, Chip is saying, but also, like Tom said, there is no 99, but if there was somebody that's close enough, it would be Will Johnson. All right, guys, well, meanwhile, how about those signal callers? 8 quarterbacks were included in the top 100. Atop of that list is Colorado's Shedeur Sanders, ahead of Heisman co-favorite Georgia's Carson Beck, both given a 93 rating. EA gives the nod to Sanders, ranked at 17th overall, one spot ahead of Beck. Texas junior Quinn Ewers and Oregon transfer Dylan Gabriel are the only other signal callers with a rating above 90. So, Chip, Sanders topping Beck, Beck over Gabriel. What do you make of how the QBs landed here?
I think Shedeur Sanders is rightly rated in this player ranking. I think Carson Beck is underrated in this ranking because I think that Carson Beck has to deal with the stigma of what we've thought about Georgia's offense. Just the fact that, you know, they were able to win without having that elite quarterback play had us overlooking something that I've really taken in as I look back at Georgia's campaign last season. He was simply one of the 5 to 10 best passers in the country by multiple statistics. There were so many different times where Carson Beck had to level up his play in order to help Georgia get all the way to the SEC championship game with an undefeated record at that time before falling to Alabama. And when it was time and he could have opted out, guess who showed up in the Orange Bowl and was nearly flawless against Florida State? I think Carson Beck's a top 10 player in college football, not a top 20 player. So give me Carson Beck as my QB1 and Shedeur Sanders top 20 player. I'm fine with that. I just would have had Beck not only ahead of Sanders, but ahead of about 5, 6, 7, 8 other players as well.
Yeah, I'm with you on this, Chip. I think that Shedeur Sanders is a very good quarterback, and I think he's no question one of the best quarterbacks in the country. But I don't know if I would have him ranked as the top quarterback in the country as he is in these rankings. And when they came out and I saw the 4 players that you mentioned are all over 90, I just tried to compare their stats in some key areas. And going through it, when it comes to passing efficiency, of the 4, Shedeur ranks last. When it comes to yards per completion, Shedeur ranks last. When it comes to completion rate, he's 3rd. And when it comes to interception rate, he's 1st, which is great. But it's also because he ranks last in sacks allowed and sack rate because he spends too much time in the pocket trying to look for guys to come open instead of getting rid of the ball. That said, like I said at the top, I think Shedeur is very good. I think Shedeur can go into this season and improve in the areas of weakness that he showed last year and become the best quarterback in the country and could hear his name called before any other quarterback in the draft next spring. It's just right now, I would not have him ahead of Carson Beck. I would not have him ahead of Quinn Ewers. I would have him ahead of Dylan Gabriel, though.
Okay, Beck, obviously, I think we're all on the consensus that maybe not shown as much love as he might deserve on this list. And, of course, we mentioned the Sanders duo. There's Heisman favorites on this list, national champions. But, Chip, coming back to you, who would you say is the most underrated player among the top 100?
Kind of one of those national champions. Somebody who's had a lot of big plays on the way to Michigan winning the national championship, and that is Michigan running back Donovan Edwards. I mean, you thought you would have given him a little bit more love considering he's been such a big part of the promotion and the rollout of this. But this is a player who, even when he signed out of high school, Michigan fans recognized as a potentially special prospect. It's just the fact that he's been behind Blake Corum, who's been an absolute workhorse, that I feel like he isn't treated as the RB1 that we will see him to be when he does take the field. Because among running backs, he is 9th on this players list, and to me, that is preposterous. I think that in terms of the running backs, Ollie Gordon, sure, I understand you giving him the tap there, but I do not think Donovan Edwards should be anywhere lower than 3rd or 4th among these running backs. And when you look at the player rankings just sorted by position, 9th among running backs is way too low for a talented player who, when his number has been called, has absolutely delivered.
I didn't realize we were doing the Big Blue Power Hour here on HQ because we started off the segment talking about Will Johnson. Chip, you're talking about Donovan Edwards being your most underrated player. Mine is another Wolverine. I'm looking at Kenneth Grant, who is ranked as the 4th highest defensive tackle in the game. He's ranked at number 55 overall, 1 spot behind Ohio State's Tyleik Williams, which that's always interesting when you see a Buckeye and a Wolverine next to each other in the ranking. But personally, I would have Kenneth Grant over Williams, not too much, but I would have him much higher, closer to where Walter Nolan is, the Ole Miss defensive tackle. I think he is the 3rd best tackle in the country at worst, and obviously his teammate Mason Graham is the best, and he's ranked correctly. But spending all this time talking about the Wolverines, why is this team not favored to win the national title again?
That's a good question. We're showing a lot of love to these national champions over here, and we're calling them underrated, but I mean, it's certainly their efforts and their production last year is certainly warranting a lot of praise and a lot of credit, especially on this list. All right, guys. No one in this year's game getting the coveted 99. I know that if anybody did, it probably would be Will Johnson. But let's expand our boundaries, shall we? If you're pegging a player from any season of college football to be 99 overall, who do you have? Tom, let's start with you.
The name that came into my mind right away when I was asked this question, it could be nobody else. It's Cam Newton, the former Auburn quarterback who won the Heisman, who led Auburn to a national title. Cam Newton was essentially the real-life version of the player that you would always create when you'd get the game, when you wanted to put the meters up to 99 on every single rating that they had. This is a man who not only led the Auburn Tigers to the national title, but if you look at the rest of that roster, there weren't other NFL players on that team. He was the #1 pick in the draft, and then after his name was called, you didn't hear any more Auburn Tigers getting selected by any NFL teams. He was a one-man show who went through the SEC on his own and then went and won the national title. Cam Newton, in my mind, is one of the greatest football players I've ever seen at the college football level, so there is no doubt in my mind that he would be my 99.
I like that pick a lot, but I'm going with a video game. A player who played football at the college level like it was a video game, and all of his attributes were faster and quicker than anybody else. I'm talking about Mercy Percy. I'm talking about Percy Harvin, the former Florida Gator. It didn't matter whether he was making plays as a traditional runner, whether he was catching a pass and making plays in the open field. The creativity that Florida offense had sometimes was simply designed to put number one in space because he was that electric and that much of a difference maker. So the way that he treated the game is the way that a lot of people play video games. And so when I think about who deserves that 99, that's where I'm going to go back to Percy Harvin.
I love that both of you guys chose players, and you said it perfectly, Tom. When you create your player, these are two players that you would want your ideal person to kind of play like their style. You got the one-man show in Cam Newton, the number one being electric on that field. Percy Harvin. That's our Chip Patterson and Tom Fornelli. Guys, I could do this all day with you guys. A ton of fun. Thanks so much for stopping by. And if you want more from these two, make sure you check out the Cover 3 podcast. It's the perfect call for any diehard fan. Chip and Tom and CBS college football experts take you from National Signing Day to the National Championship with in-depth analysis and previews. Download and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.